Good morning, everybody. Lee Brower here. Welcome to this week's edition of Meaningful Monday. I am grateful to be here and I am glad to be here. All right, let's go big. I'm grateful today for second chances, for those moments in life where we can finally say, I'm not what I used to be. I'm who I choose to become. I love the quote by John Wooden. You've probably heard me say it before. But the quote from John Wooden says, I'm not what I used to be, not what I ought to be, and not what I'm going to be. But I am thankful I'm not what I used to be. I'm going to tell you a story about Scooter. We first met Scooter through First Ascents, which is a nonprofit that takes young adults impacted by cancer on outdoor activities like rock climbing, surfing, kayaking, so that they can rediscover life and a community. And their motto is outliving it. Now you can see two different ways, outliving it or outliving it. Great motto. And one of the most unique things they do is they give everyone a new name. For example, take Sarah, 30-year-old 30-year-old special education teacher, fourth degree cancer, comes in. She's Sarah. But after a few minutes and mingling with everybody and talking to everybody, they are charged with the challenge of taking on a nickname, either given to them or help given to them by the staff or the volunteers or the other participants. They come up with a new name. So they came up with Dak for Sarah. I can tell you a whole story about Dak, but we'll park her for a while. But from that moment on, that's how they're known. That's how she was known. Nobody knows her name was Sarah. I mean, forget the name of Sarah. She's Dak, and that's what she's living. So from that moment on, the old name is not used. And why is that powerful? Because you see, cancer doesn't just affect your body. It affects your identity. And sometimes changing a name changes what you believe is possible because you've been in this cocoon. So Scooter wasn't always Scooter. His given name was Nathan. And after graduating from college with a bunch of his buddies, Nathan headed to Costa Rica, had a great week of surfing, sun, freedom, celebrating. Got home, his mother then, a day or so later, found him in the bathroom curled up in a little puddle of blood, collapsed on the bathroom floor. Immediately got him to the hospital. They revealed a tumor the size of a football. Now, Nathan was athletic as can be, 6'4", and here's this football inside of his gut. You can imagine what went on in those moments. Over hours, 24 hours, working round the clock, the medical team, keeping him alive, keeping blood in him, keeping him going, eventually putting in Teflon patches over time, chemo, radiation, several years of surgery, and fighting it, cancer, all the stuff that you can imagine. Then he reached the point of what they call NED, no evidence of disease. And then now who is he? Who is Nathan now? See, he was struggling with guilt. Why did this happen to me? It didn't happen to others. He felt the weight of his parents' sacrifice. What has this been said? The medical bills, everything that everybody did to keep me alive, so that. He was unsure who he was then. But then in his words, then came along First Ascents. And on a rock wall one afternoon, he stood frozen in fear. And then something shifted. And he told me later, Nathan couldn't climb that wall, but Scooter could. And Scooter did. You see, that moment changed his life. Today, he's a confident leader, married, children, a mentor, a man of joy and purpose, businessman. Because he left one name on the ground and climbed with the other. What guilt, label, or old story am I still carrying? What one are you still carrying? What new name could help you move forward? You see, a new identity doesn't erase the past. A new identity doesn't erase the past. It reclaims the future. What identity would give you the strength to climb your next wall? Going back to John Wooden. I'm not what I used to be, not what I ought to be, and not what I'm going to be. But I am thankful I'm not what I used to be. And what would that version of you do today? Have a meaningful week. I look forward to talking to you next week. Let's make life meaningful together. Have a meaningful week. Bye bye.